Hey guys, just a quick reminder to go on patreon.com/HMN podcast. If you're a fan of the show, we've got a lot of great stuff there for subscribers. Please feel free to subscribe and help us out so we can continue to hit up all the different conventions that are coming up throughout the next few months. And now, let's talk about one of the greatest fucking movies from the 80s. This week on Horror Movie Night, we're running through sewers, we're hanging out in movie theaters, and we're remembering that time that Scott blobbed into his own eye. Let's talk about 1988's The Blob, as picked by Adam.
Oh, that was pretty good. I can't believe I didn't pick that.
Short and sweet, just the way I am.
So, Adam, you basically just sent us a list of movies that you would like us to discuss one day, and Scott and I picked them at random. And, well, not so random, because we both saw the list and we're like, The Blob 1988, let's do it! So, this is Adam's pick. Why did you put The Blob 1988 on your list?
Because he wanted to stop picking bad movies.
Yeah, essentially. And I'm almost sort of regretting it, because I got no notes, because I just sat down last night and I watched this, and it's a good fucking movie.
Yeah,
it's a really good fucking movie.
I've literally got
notes, don't worry.
Good, because I've got very little notes as well. Just like little oh, this is a cool death. I like this death. This is a good scene. This movie's a little slow to start, but then when it gets going, it's like fucking 0 to 50. Right? As soon as the first blob death happens, it's like nonstop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel so like good. Right up until the point that the boyfriend gets killed, not even the homeless guy, because that still is a little slow. They just pull back the blanket and whatever, he's half gone. But up till the point where the boyfriend gets killed, the movie is very slow. Definitely doing a lot of character setup for people that I honestly don't give a shit about. Yeah. I don't even really give a shit about our main characters in this movie. I'm here for the blob. I'm just here for the blob.
Well, it's because this movie is the best take on a 50s monster movie. Like the Thing really modernized The Thing from Another World, which was also a 50s horror movie or 50s monsters movie. But I think that this movie did exactly what a 50s monster movie would have done, just with better effects. And it's like the monster is the star of the movie. It's not people fighting it. You know, those people are kind of interchangeable. I mean, like, it's cool that they win and everything like that. But the blob really is the main attraction in this, just like in the original and just like in so many of those sci-fi-y monster horror movies from the 50s. So you guys aren't wrong.
Yeah, this was from there was a solid period from 86 to 88 where they were just taking these 50s sci-fi horror movies and just making awesomely gory versions of them. But I think what was great about all three of those remakes and why they're so well received is that they are dramatically different than the original 50s counterpart film.
Yeah.
The Blob, probably the one that follows the original story the closest. But
well, it follows the original story, and it also pays great homage to about 5 different scenes from the original movie, which is super cool, I think.
Yeah, but then you know that it's a completely new movie when the character who would have been the Steve McQueen character in the original gets killed right away. And I remember
that's the best part of the beginning.
Yeah, that part shocked me when I saw this as a kid, because I'd seen the original Blob, and all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit! It's like, oh no, I don't know where this movie's gonna go now. And that's fucking awesome. It's so rare that a movie does that. I almost wish that I could have watched this movie for this week for the first time ever, because
it's shocked.
Yeah, it's great. The special effects still hold up. The death scenes are amazing throughout the movie. It's just a really good fucking movie. So let's talk. I guess the best way to discuss this is like, Scott, you can walk us through your notes, but I feel like really this movie is just a series of death scene highlights that we can just talk ad nauseum about.
Yeah, pretty much. But so we get started with the town is it's football season, so I'm guessing it's early November, and it said they have a sign up that says "Pray for snow," which I think is great foreshadowing because, as you know, the Blob hates cold.
Yeah.
And then as you're watching it, and I noticed a bunch of stuff because I've seen this movie quite a few times. But every time I watch it, I forget that the boyfriend gets eaten at the beginning. I forget that he's the guy that gets eaten. So it's always a wonderful surprise because I mostly remember the kills. You know, like it's just one of those weird movies where nobody matters, just the Blob. So I feel like I had a bit more critical eye watching it this time because it had been a couple years, and I think it was just maybe about 2 years ago that I watched the original for the first time in like 15 years. So that was even fresher in my mind, so I could kind of like see the parallels. I never realized, but everybody has pink pom-poms in the stands. Watching it, it's like mini blobs. It's very fun because I think that the school's colors were red and white, and so when they're shaking their pom-poms in the stands at the football game, it looks like they have pink on their hands. Pretty cool.
Yeah, this movie was a lot of thought and care was put into this movie, and I think a large part of that is that it was co-written by Frank Darabont, who always gives a lot of thought and care and sort of elevates the things that he makes.
What else has he done?
He was the writer of pretty well everything that's good. That's like a Stephen King adaptation. So Shawshank Redemption, The Mist, Green Mile.
Green Mile.
Wow. Yeah, he did do all the good Stephen King movies.
And then he did the first episode of Walking Dead, and then famously walked away from it because he didn't like the direction it was going.
Wow, he didn't walk away from it. Like AMC totally fucked everything up and pretty well forced him out, and he's since sued them and won over that.
Wow,
nice, good for him.
So, like what you're saying about the Pray for Snow, the foreshadowing there with the pink in the stands, with the pom poms and stuff. A lot of stuff definitely feels purposeful and given a lot of thought and care into it, and I think that is in large part due to Frank Darabont's writing on this as well. There's so many ways that this movie could have gone terribly wrong, like with the concept being, a giant space blob wants to kill people, right? But they take it very seriously throughout most of it, and I watched this movie probably about 11:30 midnight last night, and I was really uncomfortable watching it, just knowing like there's a lot of really graphic shit coming up. Like, I know what the deaths and the kills and stuff are. I know who's gonna die, and it's just like all I could think. Like, I was kind of like fidgeting the whole time, just thinking like, this is the worst fucking way to die ever.
Yeah, like having your skin digested off of your bones as you're alive.
Yeah, and there's I think it's one of the people is stuck in the ceiling, like he gets pulled up to the ceiling, and he's making noises like he's still alive, but his body, like the bottom half of his body's all half melted on, but his brain is still like alive. It's like, what an awful fucking way to go.
I feel like bad. You are you probably instinctively picked this movie because there's a really graphic child death in it. Later on in the sewers, that one kid gets eaten. I always forget which kid gets eaten, so it's always a treat to have that be a surprise every time. But you guys are right that the first like 10-15 minutes are just character exposition and explanation, just kind of building up false assumptions about who is going to play what role in this film, which I think is cool. It's cool that the survivor girl, what's her name? Is it Meg?
I don't know. I don't remember anybody's name. The only name
Meg.
that I know is Johnny Drama. That's it.
Yes, Meg is the survivor girl. She is a cheerleader, but she is not like the other cheerleaders. She's smart, I guess, is kind of the implication there. Although it's slow at the beginning, I love the drugstore scene because the shitty friend of the boyfriend goes up and pins buying the condoms on his buddy, and his buddy's like, "Come on, man, can't keep this girl waiting." I like that a lot, but he definitely deserves that death. Erica Eleniak plays Vicky, the makeout girl with that jerk dude in his car, and he's like, he definitely deserves to fucking die because he basically date rapes girls.
Yeah, he's a fucking date rapist. He's terrible.
Yeah. Actually, of everyone that dies in this movie, there are two people that deserve it so fucking bad. Him and the scientist dude who basically created the blob.
Dude, and I love the shot of him stuck in the sewer drain or the manhole, and it like just fills up the suit, and then he just shakes violently and then drops down, and it's awesome. So the director of this movie is Chuck Russell, who I'm looking at his IMDb right now, and so this was the second movie he ever made. The first movie he made was fucking Nightmare on Elm Street 3: The Dream Warriors.
Wow.
And then he did nothing for 6 years, and then made The Mask with Jim Carrey.
Wow, this guy's kind of knocking it out of the park a little bit.
Then he did Eraser with Arnold Schwarzenegger and The Scorpion King.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
I know that most of those movies after Dream Warriors don't really hold up that great, but at the time that they came out, they were hot shit. So, I don't know. Because Arnold Schwarzenegger in like late 90s, is that when Eraser came out? Like 99 or something?
96. So that was like peak Schwartz.
That's his second wave there, because in the mid 80s he had his bodybuilder phase, and then he had this like resurgence in the late 90s where he was doing like
the like True Lies phase.
Yeah, this was after True Lies. It was after True Lies and before Batman and Robin.
That was a low point in Arnie's career, but then after that he did have The Sixth Day, right?
Where is The Sixth Day on there? Yep, The Sixth Day was shortly after.
Yeah, I mean, that movie, I only saw it once, and I thought it was goofy as hell, but that might be worth discussing at some point in the future. Maybe. Anyway, so we're getting off the path here. Let's get back to it. So there's no medical insurance for the hobo, and so they won't see him. So I guess he's just going to have to get eaten by a flesh-eating alien. Very similar to the current state of American healthcare and politics. So we just need the government to shoot some sort of microbe up into the sky and have it come back down and eat people. So we're getting there, guys. We're gonna make America blob again. So
as whatever Jarhead or whatever it was taught us, American healthcare costs you an arm and a leg.
Junk face, you idiot!
Junk face Jarhead. Fuck off! I don't care.
Oh man. Yeah.
Remember that Archie comic where Jughead had to sacrifice people to a pit?
His own baby. So the effects are just killer in this movie, and man, he gets Paul, the quote unquote survivor boy, gets liquefied right away, and it's awful because he's like, his face is like getting liquefied underneath the blob, and his arm is out, and Meg grabs his arm and she pulls, and it comes with her, but the rest of him goes out the window, and she's like, and at least in this movie, I feel like more so than the original, the police are like more, they come on board quicker. In the original, it's like, you got nobody in town believes Steve McQueen, and so he's like running around trying to,
Well, he's also a 50-year-old man pretending that he's in high school. So would you believe that individual either?
Listen, he got held back a couple times. It's because he's good at football.
That's what I love about these blob victims. I get older, they just stay the same age.
That's good. That sink death is super gnarly.
That's one of the ones I called out, man. That sink death is so good.
Yeah, it's very. It reminds me a lot of Rasputin's death in the beginning of Hellboy. When they open the portal and then they close it with the Nazis in the 40s, and he like gets pulled stomach first and then turned in half.
Oh yeah.
I know that that's happened in a couple other movies. I think one of which we at least have discussed on the podcast. It's just I can't remember, but yeah, that's pretty gross death. And then that lady who was working in the diner runs outside while Leather Jacket Guy and Meg, Survivor Girl,
Johnny Drama,
and Meg, Survivor Girl, run to the freezer. She runs outside to the payphone, and I'm like, oh man, this movie's so fucking outdated. But she tries to call the police station. She's like, get Sheriff so-and-so. And then they're like, he's out already. And she turns around, and the blob is encompassing the telephone booth. And then his face, like the policeman's face is right there. And then his eyeball like just goes bloop, you know? It's, oh man. I don't know how they did it, because I think all of this is practical. I don't think any of this was even painted on the film.
There are scenes where you see a wide shot of the blob when huge, like in the movie theater and stuff, where that's definitely animation of some kind. But the stuff like with the sink, with the boyfriend, with the phone booth, that is all practical, and I have no fucking idea how they did it, because it looks amazing. Like, again, it's 12:30 at night. I'm watching a woman slowly die in a phone booth, and I'm freaking the fuck out over here. Like, I'm not having. The thing is that
I don't feel like she died slowly. Luckily, the phone booth kind of like explodes inward, and so I think that she just bled out immediately because she got hit with tons of glass shards. So I think she might have gotten away the least painfully out of anybody in this film. So we're
same cannot be said for the guy who goes headfirst through the sink.
Yeah, oh man, that might be the worst. Yeah, the most painful versus the least painful right there. But as we've learned from House and a couple other movies, you never put your hand down in a sink. It's just bad news. Really, just it's like, you know how in Scream they have the rules like never say who's there?
Yeah.
It's like that. Never put your hand down in a sink.
It's a good rule of thumb not to be doing that.
At this point, I always remember my only qualm with this film. It's the crazy priest. I don't think that subplot really needed to happen. It was added completely for the remake. It's not in the original. It's not terrible. I just feel like it muddies the waters.
Why does he have a jar? Why did he go to the kitchen? Why did he look in the freezer? Why did he pick up those crystals? Why did he put them in the jar? He doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Why would his actions there make no real sense?
I guess the implication is that his son or daughter died. I can't remember who he was. Oh no, he's a priest, so he doesn't have any kids. He was at the drugstore. I don't know. I thought that it was like he became an apocalypse priest because of someone dying that he knew, but no, it's not. He's just a fucking asshole, and he gets his face burned for no reason. But yeah, we're at the ET scene where the feds all kind of like come out there like combing the woods, and then Johnny Drama and Meg get caught, and then they have to like get away. But it's actually a well done exposition scene where Johnny Drama hears them talking about how they shot the microbe up into space and it came back down and they're going to use it as like a weapon. And it's also cool because it updates, instead of it being an alien, it's man-made and shadow government, which is way more of an 80s trope instead of a 50s trope, which would have been Alien. So I like that a lot.
I think it was they sent like a flesh-eating. I think they sent like a lot of different diseases up into space in that probe, and then it got like a flesh-eating disease got irradiated by fucking Bruce Banner gamma rays or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
The exact same way that the Fantastic Four came about. So
yes, exactly. This blob is actually the remains of Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic. Wow, that is the nerdiest reference you've ever made, Adam, and I love you. Okay,
let's tune in next week where he just talks about video games for 20 minutes.
Well, I feel like this is a little bit more of a stretch because Adam like
Mr. Fantastic.
Man, this is the best 5 minutes of our podcast ever. Oh man, wow. So we have our own fucking Duke in this movie in the theater. He's behind the two younger brothers that are out watching the hedge clipper massacre or something like that.
Yeah, the hedge clipper is so ludicrous.
But he's got this chick next to him, and he's just the guy behind them. He's got this like shitty stash, and he's just like, "Yo, look at what's happening on the TV screen! He's gonna kill her! And they're like, "Can you shut the fuck up?"
So he's like, all I can think of when I see this scene, especially because of the fact that he gets it pretty soon afterwards, is do you remember, the greatest movie ever made, Freaked? There's the biker dude that dumps all of the slime on the nerdy kid, turning him into the giant troll creature, and he's like just a obnoxious biker. He's like, "I told you, kid, sit the fuck down." it's like role reversal a little bit. I also, it's important to call out that I love in these late 80s movies whenever people are going to a horror movie that's like a very clear parody of another horror franchise that's out already. So like with the Hedge Clipper Massacre, or I think it's in Monster Squad, he wants to go see Groundhog's Day 7. Yeah. And he's like, the dad says something, he's like, "I thought they killed him in the last one." He's like, "Well, he came back." He's like, "If they blew him up, chopped him into little bits, and sent his head to China, he'd still come back." He goes, "That's how part 4 ended."
I just want to say, if I was in the theater and this guy was talking like that behind me, oh man, it would have been clobbering time. Anyway.
Oh my god, man, you're really doing it for me this week.
So this is actually a large part of the reason why I wanted to pick this movie. So that guy gets killed. He gets sucked up to the ceiling. Everybody starts running away out of the theater. If there's anything important that happens here, please, in between here, but remind me. But then the sister comes and she sort of hurries the boys into the sewer, right? So they get down there and they get away from the blob, and there's a long scene where the blob is in the water and they're trying to climb up the like pipes and stuff to get out of there, right?
Yeah.
The blob in the water begins to stretch up and towards them as they're climbing. And it looks so much like a rectum and anus.
Oh my god, I was hoping you were going to say prolapsed asshole.
It totally does. And that is the part that stands out to me the most, that I always remember from this movie, was 3 people climbing up a pipe in a butthole, just chasing after them. Like,
So you guys know how a couple weeks ago we talked about how Critters was like that movie for me? I guess this is Adam's movie. The one that you jerked off the most to is what I was getting.
Oh, yeah, you got it.
But you hate yourself for it. So as they're getting out of the sewer, or maybe it's while they're in the sewer, the people that were the producers were like, "We've got some budget left over. How about a chase scene?" And so Johnny Drama is on his motorcycle, just like doing jumps, and there's explosions, and it's insane. And I'm like, I know this isn't even the climax of the movie yet, and they're just like dumping money into this unnecessary scene. But
Johnny Drama fell off that bike so many times in this movie.
Yeah, but then he gets. So I love the fact that these sewers they're more like aqueducts, I guess, but they're so big that he can ride a motorcycle in the sewer. It is the most 80s Coke binge thing that we've seen in a movie in quite some time. I think it's amazing. It is super amazing. But they get out of the sewer eventually, and they get up, and the whole town is in the town square, because that's exactly how small towns worked in the 80s, I guess. And
somebody got bit by a snake, so the whole town had to come out and...
Yeah, actually, some Krites ate the balls off of a guy in an Easter Bunny outfit. It's a recurring theme that we've been dealing with all spring here. So we're at the point where the blob is starting to come out of the sewer, and it eats the asshole scientist, and it comes up through his faceplate, and that looks amazing. And it just starts wreaking havoc, and they're shooting bullets at it. Like, do you think that a blob is going to give 2 shits about your little piece of metal? It's so silly. But I think that... So we got a couple explosions here, and then everybody goes to the town hall of the church. I don't know what that building... Oh, no, it's a police station, right?
I think so, yeah.
Who cares? They're all boarded up in this. I mean, that's not going to do any good. Meg gets out, and they somehow have an entire tanker of liquid nitrogen, and that's great. I'm sure that there's some reason why it's there, but I can't for the life of me remember. I didn't write the note down. So her plan is to blow up the nitrogen with the blob on top of it so that it freezes because she knows that it can't handle cold. So she goes over and she like drops a piece of dynamite in it like frickin' Wile E. Coyote, gets stuck, falling off of it, and then Johnny Drama comes up and grabs her and pulls her off, and then it explodes and the blob turns into a bunch of pieces of amethyst, and then all the hipsters from Brooklyn come out because they want to get their crystals to fix their chakra. That's the end of the movie. Everybody goes away happy because it snowed, except for the priest who has kept 2 pieces of amethyst, and they are now warmed up and blobs, and he has some sort of church revival, and he's going to unleash the blob on something. Totally unnecessary side plot. It would have been fine without the gotcha moment at the end, but great film. Adam, you've never picked a better movie than this.
And he never will.
You've seen the rest of that list. You know I won't.
So what did you guys watch this week?
I watched Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and it's been a while since I've watched that. It was on Netflix, and I just thought, I have some time to kill before bed tonight. I'll watch it. And so I'm watching it in bed. Megan's asleep next to me, and I'm remembering how terrifying Freddy really was to me when I was a kid, because that movie, I think, makes Freddy actually scary again. Because like the first movie, I felt like he's scary and very, very ominous, and you feel like he is going to kill you in your sleep in horrible ways. And then the rest of the movies, he becomes kind of a caricature. It's not that I don't love Freddy, but New Nightmare gets back, in my opinion, to that same feeling that I had about Freddy before seeing, Dream Child. And it's a very dark movie, and I love that movie. I had forgotten how good it was. It's really good, and it has a lot of it feels like Wes Craven was working shit out in his brain about how he wanted to write Scream when he was writing Wes Craven's New Nightmare, because it has a lot of similar meta discussion about horror, and he pokes fun at himself and things like that. Obviously, it wasn't quite crystallized into what Scream became, but you can definitely watch New Nightmare and kind of get the feeling that he already was mentally working towards Scream.
I actually haven't really been able to watch too much as of late. I've been working a bunch of doubles. Been just fucking crushing podcasts left and right lately. I will say that I discovered a podcast that is on the Geekscape network that I enjoy. It's for Star Trek fans specifically. For fans of Star Trek Voyager, it's called Seven of Wine. It's 2 female Star Trek fans out in LA, and they pick an episode of Voyager, and then they find a bottle of wine that fits the theme of that episode, and they get drunk and talk about the episode of Star Trek together for an hour.
That is so amazingly specific.
Yeah, it's only about 4 episodes in. It's pretty good. Both of them are really cool. At least seem pretty cool. I've been talking to them online about us hanging out at the Geekscape booth at San Diego Comic-Con, which is a great time to mention. I will be at San Diego Comic-Con in July. If you are on the West Coast and you are a fan of the show, which I know we have a decent amount of West Coast listeners, that might be one of your best chances to swing by and say hi. All you need to do is buy a ticket to San Diego Comic-Con, so good luck with that. But if you've already got
worth every penny to Matt Kelly.
If you've already got a ticket, feel free to swing by the Geekscape booth. And I'm definitely working on a few other future conventions, but that is the one that is currently set in stone. So I'll promote that one at least. Adam, take us home.
I watched the newest episode of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Was it good? Megan was just talking last night about, she's like, should I buy the season pass? And I said, I didn't even finish last season.
Yeah, I don't know. It was fine. We got a lip sync this time around. I don't know. I didn't like the sort of, Esther or whatever they have to do, competition that they had to do this episode. It was all about cheerleading, so it was just an annoying cheerleader thing. Just a whole sketch about that and like a song and stuff. So I didn't much care for that, but it seems like they're slightly more back on track as to how they usually do it with like the lip sync and stuff at the end, and somebody went home. So Yeah, I'm gonna keep watching it. I mean, I don't have much of a choice. I have to keep watching it.
Yeah, once you kind of commit to watching RuPaul, you got to find out what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I saw somebody the other day make a request on the Facebook page that I get back into the Flavor of Love ongoing saga. So I don't know when this one goes up, but expect that soon.
That was The Blob from 1988, as picked by Scott and I for Adam. You can check out all of the future and past episodes on our various online pieces of internet. Scott and Adam will run that down later. But you can also suggest movies to us at hmnpodcast@gmail.com. I feel like this is probably a good enough time to announce that we are going to be making a slight change after episode 100. So what we are going to be doing from this point on, because we get so many picks, and it's kind of hard to juggle all the stuff that we want to talk about and make sure that the picks that we're getting are going to equal good episodes, is that we are going to have 3 monthly listener pick months. I think the first one's going to be in September, and we'll figure out when the other ones are going to be. But send us your suggestions. What we're going to start doing is putting all of them in a folder, and then right before that month, the 3 of us will pick 4 movies somehow. Either we're just going to go through and say we want to talk about these 4, or we're going to throw all of them in a random shuffling generator device or something like that, or draw them out of a hat. Who knows? But there will be various listener-requested movie months. So start sending us your suggestions now, and we'll start stockpiling for what will be the first 4 in September. There's a lot of good ones that have already been thrown into the hat. There's a lot of really bad ones that I hope we don't end up having to watch that have been thrown into the hat. But regardless, into the hat they go. The
fedora.
The proverbial fedora.
The trilby.
Yes. But you can also stay in touch with us on social media and online, where you can listen to us, and I will let Adam and Scott do that so I can stop rambling.
Yep, you can find us on Twitter at HMN Podcast. You can find Scott at Facken Duke. You can find Matt at St. Mort, and you can find me at Life is Sublime. We also have a website up and running now. I bet it looks real pretty. I don't know. I'm sure it looks great, though. You can always find us over there at www.hmnpodcast.com. That should have all of our information on there. But if that is not up yet, then Scott, where else can they find us?
You can find us on soundcloud.com/horror movie night. It has all of our episodes, as well as some bonus content on there. And you can find all that material on iTunes or through your favorite podcasting app. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. And we'll be seeing you again soon.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.